Today, we're going to talk about what happens to our imaginary friends when we grow up. We're going to talk about Tyler Hayes, the imaginary corpse, right now. Hello, and welcome to Matt Reviews Books. I am Matt, and this is a book review channel dedicated mostly to older books. All things books and publishing. Books meaning anything that's been printed and bound. So it includes graphic novels and comic books and fiction and non-fiction, history, biographies. Whatever, as long as it's something I can hold in my hand and read. Today we're talking about the imaginary. Excuse me, I'm having dry mouth. Today we're talking about the Imaginary Corpse, The Imaginary Corpse by Tyler Hayes. He last year I did a video on this. Went down and I saw Tyler at a book signing in Mendocino, California. Went down there, met him, known each other for many years before. Got the book signed. I'll put a link in the thingy that's up over here. But it took a year. But I finally read it. And I should just hold it right here. Imaginary Corpse, Tyler Hayes. And yeah, it's a really good book. I liked it a lot. And I think you'll like it a lot too. So what is the Imaginary Corpse? Well, here we go. Synopsis! So, the Imaginary Corpse is about a yellow plush, a sunflower yellow plush triceratops named Detective Tippy. And Detective Tippy, he solves mysteries. And he lives in a world called the Stillreal. And the Stillreal is where our imaginary friends and stuffed animals. But it's also like the like superheroes teenagers might invent and the creative worlds where they go as they're developing their interests. Premise is this world is populated by what's basically kids, hopes, fears, dreams. They're trying to understand the world, coping strategies. And what happens when kids have to grow up too fast and these illusions, these fantasies are broken. If they're believed in enough and loved enough and held close to an individual long enough, they become real. And I mean real as in the Velveteen Rabbit kind of real. Margery Williams' Velveteen Rabbit has like a first cousin to this world. Except there, where the Velveteen Rabbit turned into an actual rabbit at the very end, here they turn into the other, like, they join their own world. And they're real there, as real as you or I. And the universe in what's called the Stillreal has operates a lot on the same principles of child's minds, and a lot of these characters have their imprint is from whichever child or young adult imagined them. And Detective Tippy, his little girl, had imagined him as a detective solving the problems of the world, which for her is like sounds like a 4-year-old girl or a 5-year-old girl is, why is the color blue? And why does Dad go away a lot? And that is the setup. That's the premise of the world that Tyler Hayes creates. And the drama then comes in is that Detective Tippy has to solve this crime, an actual murder of one of the residents of the Stillreal. They're called Friends. And he's not really prepared to do that. He's a detective. He finds clues to mysteries, but he's not a detective of like a real world police officer detective. And so when he's faced with having to find a monster that can actually kill, the process is very much how anybody else might face an overwhelming situation. And so that makes this Triceratops, the character, this sunflower yellow Triceratops, Tippy, Detective Tippy, as he prefers to be called, a real, he feels like a realized character. And so do the rest of the characters, because they're all reminiscent of the imagination that I've had, that I know a lot of my friends have had, at the different age groups. You know, you have your stuffed animal, your best friend, and for you, that stuffed animal is actually a living, breathing, talking, thinking creature. But then sometimes you grow up, and then where do they go? What happens to them? That is that's the major premise of the universe, and then the rest of it flows from there. And so Detective Tippy, in a very dinosaurian, hard-boiled detective methodology, goes through and he finds what he finds is actually truly chilling. It is it's pretty dark where Tyler goes with his plot, and that brings us to, because now we're going to get into what I think about the book. Thoughts. So, like I said at the beginning, I like this book. I like this book a lot. It's definitely gonna go be on a reread at some point in the future. And I like how, even though it's it's not urban fantasy, but it's fantasy. A lot of it feels rooted in real humanity, and that's because the whole idea is that it's our imaginations come to life. It's more than just, it's the recognition of the experience that we all have as kids with imaginary friends, and what happens to those imaginary friends after we all grow up. Some of us have to grow up faster than others, but you can, in fact, read my written thoughts as well. I wrote a written version of this review. You can find it at www.matthewreedmedia.com. I'll put the link right somewhere in front of you. And with that, I think we're gonna go. If you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I will see you next time.